block, and it's time for us to begin. So I am going to let David, do you have a few announcements to make before we start?
I don't have any announcements. I'll do my announcements at the end.
At the end, okay.
I think first I do want to thank Larry and Frank and Dave Rankin for joining us this evening and helping lead tonight's program.
Perfect. So with that being said, normally we'd turn to Les, but Les is off this month, and he's going to be listening to the Blues Brothers, as we'd like to call them, give their presentation. So we're going to let those gentlemen start, and we'll let you guys take it away.
You're going to mute first, right, Julie?
Yes, we are. We will be muting everybody first. So let me just get back over here. Sorry, I had to run in from bowling. It's bowling night on Tuesday. Yes, so I'm muting everyone now. And everyone is muted. So now it'll just be those that are speaking to go ahead and give the presentation, please. So thank you.
I guess I got volunteered to be the main speaker tonight, but Dave and Frank will chime in here as I make mistakes. So welcome everyone. We're going to be presenting on the transparent blues of the 20s tonight. Believe it or not, Frank and Dave first presented on this topic almost 50 years ago. And it seems like every few years, the blues topic comes up again. I had a weird thought today, not that all my thoughts aren't weird, but if you collect Rose Point and that's all you collect, you wouldn't have to worry about blues. Oh, well, most of us have blues because blue is a nice color. So we'll do our best tonight. So take notes, chime in, and away we go. I'm going to share my screen first. And the first thing I want to talk about is the Cambridge Glass database. We can't always be around to answer your questions, so it's a time and sometimes for you to try to research and find your own answers. When we taught, one of the things we always told our students when they asked us a question, did you look it up? Well, no. Well, go look it up and report back. We're not always going to be around to give you answers. So where can I go to get answers on colors? Well, if you go to the Cambridge Glass database, and look at what is right in the middle of the page, Cambridge Glass colors with narrative. And if I click on that, we will come to, let me make this a little bit larger, all of the Cambridge colors that were produced. And tonight we're interested in the blues created in the 1920s. So we have Aurora, Night Blue, Ritz Blue, Bluebell, and also Willow Blue. I'm just going to click on one of these, and feel free to come back later on, or if you can't sleep some night, check in and check this out. So I just clicked on Aurora, and it will tell us about Aurora. It was produced beginning in 1924. It's the lightest of two colors, and you can click on view examples, but what is very helpful sometimes is to view similar colors. And you can see we have Aurora, Night Blue, Royal Blue, and Bluebell, Willow Blue, and 1903 Blue, Bluebell, and all those things. One thing I want to point out, notice we're noticing the difference in how light or dark the colors are. And one thing that doesn't get talked about often enough, I think, is how does the glass gather? So you can see a good example right here in the difference between Moonlight and Willow Blue. If you look at the edge of the Moonlight cornucopia, see how that is a dark blue? Look down at the edge of the plate on Willow Blue. Notice that it is not darker. So Moonlight gathers and Willow Blue does not. So that's one way that you can tell the difference between Willow Blue and Moonlight. Now I'm going to get out of there, go back to the home page. A lot of you, I think, go directly to the photo albums. Don't forget, there's a lot of good stuff on the homepage of the database. So I'm going into the photo albums, and right at the top left-hand side, identification aids, decorations, colors, general lines and shapes. If I click on colors, then on color glass, we will come to kind of the same thing we had before. This also can get you more information about the different colors. We'll just stick with Aurora like we did before. But if I click on more examples, it will show you, in this case, 37 different photos of Aurora. So if you're having trouble finding something, you can come to this section. Now we have 25 different files. I won't show them all on night blue. So that is a good reference for you to come to, is the Cambridge Glass database. So to get into the formal portion of the program, Dave and Frank will chime in here a little bit later, and they assisted me in the development of this. Believe it or not, we've been working for a couple weeks on this 15-minute program. So Cambridge Glass introduced blues in the 20s in this order: Aurora in 24, Night Blue 1925, Bluebell 1926, Willow Blue 1928, and Ritz Blue 1929. Well, a question probably comes up, why? Why did they introduce so many blues? Were they trying to hit a different market? Weren't they happy with the color blue? You know, we don't know. Cambridge produced a total of 10 different blues during the period of production. Why did they produce so many? Well, a lot of people like blue, so they tried to get a blue that everyone would like. When you're trying to compare blues, remember these important things. Differences exist in whether the item is blown, whether it's pressed, and like I said before, notice a gathering effect or lack of gathering. Each batch produced is slightly different. As Les talked to you about some of the other colors, you know, there's differences in sand. They measured some of these things out by shovelfuls, and that's not exactly exact. It's pretty close, but there's maybe some differences. If you see photos on eBay or somewhere else, remember there's differences in cameras, how well the camera is balanced, what the background is, what the light source is. It natural sunlight, or is it fluorescent light or incandescent? So those will all make a difference. Men especially are usually somewhat blue-green colorblind, and that enters in the equation as well. So our main focus tonight is going to be on Aurora, Night Blue, and Ritz Blue, formerly known as Blue 1, Blue 2, and Blue 3. However, we will also show and discuss Bluebell and Willow Blue, and certainly if you have those colors, please show them this evening. As far as that goes, if you have a blue you don't know what it is, show that as well. So I'm going to run through some things. What I tried to do was show the same item in different colors, so maybe you can see a little bit of difference. So Aurora is on the left, Bluebell in the center, Night Blue on the right. And you can see differences. Aurora is probably definitely the lightest. Here's an Aurora and Bluebell candy. And an Aurora and Night Blue candlestick. Aurora and Ritz Blue candlestick. Ritz Blue, if it's on Decagon, it probably is Ritz Blue. And if it's not Royal Blue and it's a blue Mount Vernon, it's probably Ritz Blue. So those are two you can probably definitely tell by the shape. Stemware, notice that this is blown, so it looks a little bit different. So here's some examples of willow blue, a cordial cocktail, footed tumbler, and goblet. Notice how much lighter willow blue is. Look at the edge of these drinking vessels. Notice there's hardly any gathering. Compare it to bluebell. Look at the edges of these. Notice it does have a distinct blue color. Hopefully you can all see that. If you have some examples at home, that's one way you can tell. So willow blue, no gathering. Bluebell, there is some gathering. Also the shape, or excuse me, the color or hue is definitely different in bluebell. Night blue is darker. We also have a gathering effect. You can see on the top rim of the cordial and also in the 2366 vase. Here are two examples of night blue, 119 basket and the same vase. Ritz, notice, is the darkest. So it definitely is darker. Really, there is some gathering effect, but maybe not as much as you might suspect it would have. You can really see how dark it is in the stem and the bowl of Ritz. So we're ready for quiz time. Here we have 3 blues of the 20s. So you can kind of formulate in your mind what color is which. And so far we've been relying on our eyes. Maybe we have some science that might help us in this particular case as well. So Dave Rankin took some photos in regular light, and then he also did it with black light. So here's regular light, and there's black light. So the one on the left is Aurora. The one in the center is night, and the one on the right is Ritz. So Aurora definitely has a very marked reaction to ultraviolet light. Night blue somewhat, and Ritz is dead, as we say, no reaction at all. So that's one easy way that you can tell. We had a program a few years ago in our local group, and everyone put things in the order that they thought. They were pretty confident. Then we turned out the lights and got out the black light, and we were all wrong. There were some Aurora pieces in that we didn't think were Aurora. So you can do this test at home. So Aurora, highly reactive. Night blue, slight reaction. Ritz, no reaction at all. I will say that not all black lights are created equal. A rating of 365 nanometers is best. Other common ratings that you'll see, 385, 395, and 400. And I will tell you, those black lights are less expensive than a 365. You can buy a 385, 395, or 400 nanometer handheld UV light for about 10 bucks. The 365 ones will cost you about 40. There's a great discussion going on right now in the Heisey Facebook group, and they swear by the 365. They can tell Heisey it's a different color than Imperial. So your results may vary. So what is the ultraviolet light spectrum? Of course, we're familiar with visible light, and off to the right is infrared. As the wavelengths get shorter, we get into ultraviolet. There's ultraviolet A, B, and C. Notice what's over here on the left, X-rays. Are X-rays good for you? No. So ultraviolet is pretty close. We're in this range, UVA ray A, but use caution. LEDs, UVs emit radiation. Don't look directly into it. Don't do long exposures and all those fun things. So best environment, dark room, dark background, dark clothing, center of the room, or away from light colored walls. So if you're wearing a white shirt and you've got a white cloth underneath, your results are not going to be very good. So I'm going to open it up here for questions in a second, and I stayed within my 15-minute allocation. Please consider joining our Zoom study group. Send me an email if you'd like to join. Heartlamps at sbcglobal.net. Our meetings are on the third Sundays at 3 o'clock Eastern time. And I'm going to stop sharing, open it up if Frank or Dave have additional comments. Hearing none.
Any comments? Any questions from the people that over the review? Christine?
I have a question. So why does Aurora light up so much in comparison to the other two?
It has a different ingredient that reacts to the ultraviolet light.
What's the ingredient, I guess, is what I'm asking.
Les could probably tell us what's in Aurora that's not in night blue or a lesser amount in night blue and none in Ritz. You're on
Unmute, Les, unmute.
I'm sorry. Yeah,
There you
it's
go.
probably manganese because you get a moderately strong green yellow reaction with ultraviolet light with manganese. So it's almost certainly not uranium.
Right.
You'd expect that. Lead gives you an icy blue, but from what that photo looked like, it's not icy. It leans more the yellow side, so yellow green side. So it's probably the manganese.
Thank you.
Okay.
And Aurora was a fairly short production period.
And they really all were.
Yeah, really.
When we say short production, are you meaning 1 year, 2 years, 3 years? Do we have a time period?
Well, Aurora was replaced, just 1 year after it was introduced. Night blue may have lasted from 25 till 29 when Ritz was introduced. We don't know for sure just how long some things are continued.
Okay.
That was kind of the same question I had, Dave, because there is some chance that those 4 medium blues didn't overlap at all. I don't know if we've got any evidence of advertising or anything, but like you said, the Aurora 24, the Night Blue 25, Bluebell 26, and then Ritz Blue in 29. So it is really a mystery. I was wondering if you had some clue on why they would have been changing the color slightly and promoting them differently.
I think it really boils down to a marketing decision. Bring out something, and if it doesn't fly, try something else. If it really does fly, there's some indication from oral comments that Cambridge would make anything even after they discontinued something. We see Topaz as an excellent example. That was pretty well discontinued before the end of the 20s, and yet we see Topaz in Bluebell that didn't come out until the mid 30s. So they would come back with something if there was a demand.
As far as numbers of the colors we talked about tonight, by far more was produced in Willow Blue than any of the others.
Now you showed that like Ritz Blue or Aurora, there are certain pieces that were only made.
I think we lost Julie. Having some bandwidth problems.
Hey, Larry, I got a question while we're on, while Julie's broken down here. You know, as most of us are not real technical on these blues, and you see them out in the wild in shows or, you know, around, what would be the takeaway for the easiest thing for novices to kind of at least guess which blue it is? what would we look at and think?
Huh.
You know, I do have the UV rays down, but I won't have that with me when I'm at the show.
You
I
can,
can, I think I can answer that, how
Go
I
ahead.
tell when I'm not carrying a black light or just see it offhand. Aurora is pretty easy to distinguish from the others because it's so much lighter in comparison. Night and Ritz are much closer to the naked eye. But as far as we know, if it's decagon, it's Ritz. If it's 3077 stemware or Mount Vernon, it's Ritz. Anything else is going to be older than that. You should have a feel for when things were produced. But if it's a dark blue and it's not decagon, not 3077, not Mount Vernon, it's going to be night.
Okay, thanks, Dave.
the other thing you can do, most of you will have your smartphone or tablet. You can go on to the Cambridge Glass database and find a similar item and see what color that it's on in the database. Not a guarantee, but that'll help narrow things down for you.
I'm
And
not,
you can, by the way, have a handheld black light to take with you. But in a show, it's difficult because it's going to be pretty light and not dark enough, maybe.
right. I don't know if you saw Joanne's comment. She said, I believe Aurora had some cobalt which glows, and it was last one that had it in, but I could be wrong. Do we have any comment here about this? What Joanne had sent?
Mm-mm.
No? Okay.
Larry, I had a question, or Frank or Dave. How much, I saw you had the dolphin candlesticks out. So those 3 items were produced in all 3 colors.
Yes.
Are there a lot of pieces that are produced in all 3?
Very few.
Yeah, very few.
I would
Okay,
say candlesticks would be one. The triangle dealer signs are one. That's about it.
okay.
But, you know, bottom line, if you like the color, buy it,
Right. Right.
you know.
That's true. Awesome. Okay, so are there any more questions before we start the show and tell portion of this? Do I have any questions from anyone else?
Well, it sounds like maybe we've got the time. Maybe Dave and Frank could comment, and Vicky, how long it took to track down these names, Aurora and Night Blue.
Oh, that's more David.
Dave is the expert on tracking it down, man.
Well, part of the problem was when we did the research in the trade publications, there were indications of some of the names. If you went clear back to Colors Book 1 in the early 80s, we had an idea, but when you've got one reference in an author's comments as opposed to a Cambridge ad, and it's only one occurrence, it's hard to hang your hat on that little evidence. But by hindsight, they have all turned out to be what we speculated in Colors Book 1.
And, you know, also we've had a couple formula books. One I got from Mosser, and what they called the colors and what turned out to be the Cambridge color are 2 different things, you know, and they varied day to day and everything else. So, you know, it's just, you hate to say it, but just a crapshoot.
And one other interesting thing, since we're working so much with the turn cards here recently, trying to get those online, information from the workers is not reliable because they switched over to Moonlight in the mid-30s, and yet they told the workers on their time cards to make it in Willow Blue. And you know it wasn't Willow Blue, but they just knew it as Willow Blue, and they didn't change their communications.
Yes, sometimes it's hard to believe everything you hear. That's not unusual.
Amen.
Okay, so with that said, are there any other questions before we move over to seeing some of the pieces? If not, we will start with Gwinnell and we will put the checks on deck.
Good evening, everyone. I believe I've got Aurora. I think it's the 1917 half pound with an etching on it, or cutting actually, a gray cutting. It does fluoresce. I've also got part of a night set that also has a gray cutting. It's similar to the other one, but this one has a lot of straight lines coming down. It's a lot like the one that's in the Color One book. And the tray, and it has the cutting from the starlight all the way to the edge of the rim. It goes from the print here all the way out. Also, I believe in Aurora, it also fluoresces. The night set does too, is the cream and sugar. And it has no cutting, no etching, just as is. And then I don't have any night and I don't have any of the Ritz. And then I've got Willow, but then you go to Decagon and you've got the cream and sugar and Willow, which is extremely light, but you can tell. And the candy dish or a bonbon, again with an etching. And then I've got the Aero Optic, which I don't think is Willow. It might be Moonlight because it does gather around the handles and around the rim. Oh, not sure if you can see that or not.
Oh, yeah.
But Aero Optic, I didn't think was made during the time that Moonlight was out.
That blank is 20s too, isn't it? It must be Willow. Anybody know?
It's the Aero Optic with the dots.
Mhm.
I don't know if you can see the dots or not. But you can see the optics in it.
It's a thick piece of glass, Gwinnell, so it's
thick.
bound
Yeah,
together
it's
some.
960,
Yeah.
960, and it's real thick. And I believe it is in the 20s. And then also in the 20s later are the 961. They're a little bit different. You don't see them very often. And on all the light, they are signed with the small triangle. And if I can reach it. And I've got the, also, I believe in Willow is the Modern. And they're also signed. And then thinking of sign, the lid on the candy dish was signed, and it's got the large triangle in it up in the top. But all the light blue was signed, which I believe is Willow. And that's all I've got.
Well, thank you. I enjoyed seeing how you showed that the pattern of the cut was actually radiating to the edge. And I think I wasn't sure if that was the Adams pattern or not on the sugar and creamer, but it's one of my favorite patterns. I just love that pattern.
It's similar. It's the 739.
Yeah.
Which is just that part of it. It doesn't have the other part.
Very cool. I like all the difference in the sugar and creamers. It's nice to see the heavier pieces versus a little bit more delicate in the Aero Optic. Gentleman that gave the blues, can you have any more information on the optic for her, for Gwinnell?
Yeah, the optic was actually done regardless of color. It could be in, non-color glass. So that really hasn't very little to do with it. The bottom of that tray, Gwinnell, that you were talking about, Cambridge actually had a name for that, and that's pressed in, and that's called the Gloria Star.
Gloria Star, okay.
Yeah, that was used in the bottoms of trays and plates and other things I would say quite often, but frequently.
I was interested because it was cut from the points all the way to the rim. And then they also cut around the edge,
Mhm.
the gray cutting. It's just different.
Very interesting. Well, thank you so much for sharing with us tonight. It's always
You're welcome.
wonderful to see the different pieces that are out there. So next, we're going to move to the checks, and we're going to put, how about if we put Mr. Strebler on deck?
So we were looking at the Cambridge, the Colors 1 book, and I was looking at Cobalt 1 and Cobalt 2. So would Cobalt 1 be considered Aurora? Is that the same thing?
Yep.
Okay. So here's a 14 panel bowl. And this is signed. And then we've got a couple other kind of plain pieces, a little 5.5 inch compote. And then the footed bowl that has panels on it. And then for the darker pieces, really love the simplicity of this center handled server, the little, I think it's a little 5.5 inch. And then the honeycomb bowl, and this one has a cutting on the edge. And then for Willow, I'm sure you probably saw this at the meeting a couple weeks ago, but the Willow, the Everglade. So there's a bowl and candlestick. And then the last piece we had was, so I'm guessing this is Bluebell, the little salt and pepper shakers. It has a patent number on it, and we looked up the patent, and it was, see if I can hold up a little bit different. And the patent drawing, it was, I think, was McKelvey. Was it William McKelvey?
McKelvey.
From Cambridge, who did but they showed the taller and the patent drawing, but this is in the catalog reprint that shows both sizes, the little ones and the taller ones. So that's it.
Oh, wonderful. It was, I'm glad that you mentioned the patent part of that, because we don't often hear about that in our Zoom and Tell. So that was really interesting and a nice tidbit to put up. It's very interesting to, like you said, the simplicity of the glass.
Mm-hmm.
And many times we see everything decorated and we forget how really beautiful, once you really hold it up, just the clarity of the glass and how nice it looks, and even the lines of the glass, I think very simplistic, which, you know, utilitarian pieces, pardon me. So thank you for sharing that with us. I really appreciate it.
Oh, certainly.
Hey, Julie,
Yes.
could someone from the Blues Brothers, the Aero Optic pieces, could you chime in on like what they were? Clearly, they didn't look like Aurora toward the end. The color was a little richer. Not the Aero Optic, but the
Honeycomb?
the honeycomb. Yes, the honeycomb piece and the center handled tray. What color were those?
Where's the honeycomb?
If I remember correctly, they looked a little darker, so they were than Aurora, so they were probably night.
That was my guess.
All right.
And there's the center handled server.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Okay. So Mr. Strebler, you are up, and we will put Christine on deck, please.
Okay, we have one piece.
Hmm.
And it's not a 119, it would be the next one, bigger one, the 118, I think. But we can't figure out what blue it is. It's not royal blue for certain. It's got this funky little decoration on it too. A decal, my wife says. But I'll take all guesses. I don't think that this basket went back into early cobalt. Help, anybody?
Well,
I'd
it's,
say night blue.
it's probably night blue, but it may have been produced earlier than the 20s too, especially in that size.
Which
Right.
means that you think it could be early cobalt or early royal blue.
1916 royal blue, yeah.
1916 royal blue. Yeah,
You think it goes back that far? Huh?
I do. I'm leaning that way.
Okay, well, I feel like the guy on the Antiques Roadshow. Well, thank you. That was very good. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, thank you. And it's interesting to see the decal on that. As you know, Gwinnell showed before, we saw the gray cuttings, and now we've seen a decal. So it's interesting to see how we see the change in the decorates. And I think part of that is the time period. Obviously, that you were getting into more the 20s, you think more opulent, so to speak. So very interesting, just the different decorations. So moving on, we're going to go to Christine, and then I am going to put Jack on deck.
Okay, we would be here all night if I showed all my blues because these are some of my favorite colors. So I just have a few and some that I have a question about. So just kind of a cool one that I have is the Bluebell Inkwell. And I do have the letter holder that goes with it. If anyone has the other two pieces, call me up. Private message me. I'm interested. So of course for that. This next one, I've been thinking all along it was Bluebell. Now, when I looked on it on Miami Valley, so this is the Martha Washington etch on it. Lyle, this may look a little familiar to you, but it's a decanter, of course. And, but according to the Miami Valley website, this is Aurora. The odd thing is it does not light up at all. So anyone have any ideas? Because
So
there's
that's-
no fluorescence.
Yeah,
to it.
it's not Aurora then.
Yeah, I guessed it was Bluebell all along, but I don't know. What do you guys think? It's very light. It's very similar to my Bluebell pieces.
It looks like bluebell to me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I thought too. So
Doesn't-
thank you.
Christine, does the color lean towards the red or towards green?
I think it leans towards the green.
Then it's almost certainly bluebell.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you. So I was right all along. Yeah, thank you. All right, some other interesting ones. So I bought these candlesticks together. The dealer did not profess them to be a set. So do not think that I bought them thinking they were a set. I knew they were not. And I actually bought them with hopes that I had an example of a blue one and a blue two. However, and yes, one is very light. This one's very light. This is much darker, like that dark blue, but both of them light up a lot, like just as much as the one and the two both light up just as much fluorescent wise. So what are your thoughts?
Well, remember at the beginning, I said there can be some variation.
Yeah,
That's a perfect example right there.
yeah. So could they both even be Aurora?
Yep.
That's what I'm kind of thinking now that I saw how much this one lit up. Way more than I expected it to, because I do have some.
Okay, do they light up uniformly the same amount?
Yeah, they do. They do. Exactly the same amount.
I have one in that matches the one in your right hand. And
Uh-huh.
I would swear that it was night blue because it's so much darker, but it lights up just like the
Yep.
Aurora one.
Yep, that's exactly like this one. Exactly. So interesting anyways. So I thought I'd share some of those. This one, of course, is some of you who saw this at the auction will recognize this Aurora vase. It's a very pretty vase. I had the number 79. So I really like this one. It's very light. All right, the next one I have for you, another one that will look familiar, came from the auction. And of course, I have the glasses that go with it as well, the jug, 66-ounce jug. So, and that is Aurora, and it does light up pretty bright. And then I have these blues. So these are colognes, of course. And they're both the same color. It's just interesting. This one has some nice painting on it. It's kind of pretty. And this one has a cutting that's very unusual. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see this cutting or not. Let me turn it so you can see the flower. Can you guys see that at all or no?
Yeah, when you turned it, I could see it.
Could see it almost looks like a rose, but I do not recognize this cutting. I've been searching, trying to find it. So my cutting experts, sometime maybe I have to just show it to you in person maybe. But I haven't been able to find it. It's not a rose one. I looked through all the roses. So, but it looks a lot like the rose. But it's very pretty cutting.
And Larry, that perfume would be another example of one. It appears in all 4 of the medium blue colors.
Exactly. Yeah, I forgot about perfumes.
Yep. So I have those 2, and I do have the powder box and everything that goes with it. I don't have the tray. And then I have another one that's kind of interesting. So I have 2 kegs that are blue. And one is, so this is, of course, when you look on the Miami Valley website, it says that it comes in Aurora, and this is just very true to that. It lights up. It's very fluorescent, very pretty. It's a really pretty blue. And then the glasses that go with it, the barrel here. I don't know if you guys can see that okay or not, but the barrel glasses that go with it. This one also has a tray that goes with it. And then I have, this does have a top. I just didn't bother to get the stopper out for it. But this one here, I might have to put them side by side for you. This does not light up at all. So, and I couldn't find that they made it in a Bluetooth. So, at least not on the Miami Valley website, but this does not light up. Not even an inkling of it, not even a hint of it, fluorescing at all. So kind of interesting. And the glasses do not either. And it has kind of a purple hue to it, whereas the other one is very blue. It's got a very blue hue to it, where this one, here's the glasses. Again, it's probably hard for you guys to tell online here, but there's the glass. And if you look at the bottom where it gathers, it's really purpley. So it's got kind of a purple color to it, but I thought that was kind of interesting. So any thoughts on those, you guys?
They're nice.
Nice. Those are Tim's. Tim loves those. So that's why we got them, because he liked them. He bought it without even, I walked up, I said, oh, that's really pretty. He goes, good, because I just bought it. I'm like, oh, okay. All right. So we have it. So, all right. Well, thank you.
Well, thank you for sharing. Those are lovely. I like the keg sets and the decanters. Just something about them appeals to me, but I like the decanter that you showed. It was really, really nice. Now, you said it had, on the tumblers that come with those, it's very straight edge tumblers with the decanter
Which
or
one?
pitcher, the pitcher, I'm sorry. It's more the pitcher with
Yes.
the covered lid.
Yes, yes. I actually got that in the auction. I don't remember which auction, but I bought that in the auction. So, but it was listed as Aurora and does have very straight glasses. They're tumblers, and they're, kind of a normal size tumbler. I'm not sure the ounces. I would guess maybe 8 or 10 ounce tumblers that came with it.
Okay, nice. Well, thank you. Nice to see a lot of the different blues. So next we have Jack, and then we'll have David on deck, please.
Okay, thanks, Julie. I just have a few pieces to share, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my pictures because these were all packed away. As some of you know, we're going through a remodel here. So I'm going to share my screen for just a quick second and see if, can you see that?
No.
No.
No. Huh. Okay. How about we do this?
There you go.
There we go. Okay. This probably is similar to the one that Grinnell showed. I was trying to, it's cut and it just doesn't, the cutting doesn't show up on, this is an old photo and I apologize for that, but it's still, it's the 1917 -88 half-pound candy, and it is Aurora, and both the lid is cut as well. It's really got a beautiful gray cutting on it. So the next piece, this is the 267 Comport. It is optic, and this is Aurora, and then it's got the 445 ladle to it as well, and it is a gray cut. You can kind of see the gray cutting on the Comport, and what I thought was neat is they also cut the bottom of the ladle with the matching flower on it, which I thought was nice. So, and they really do fluoresce. So next piece is just, I threw in a little, it's a little Bluebell number 400 individual salt. So, and this also comes in a double. I've seen a couple of those for sale. The double ones kind of look neat. But, I've never seen the little Bluebell spoons that go with it. I have a spoon that goes on it that came with it, but it's not Bluebell. In fact, you might see the little corner down the bottom. I don't know what color that is, but I've never seen a Bluebell spoon. I don't know if anybody else has. But, the penultimate one here, this is the 680 Compact, and this is Bluebell. And they frosted the top cover and then they cut it, which I think was really a nice effect. I have actually this in 3 other colors as well that they frosted the top and then cut the top on it. So, and 3 of the 4 all have the same cutting on it. A 4th one is a little different, but I just thought that was a really neat piece. And I think, oh, I got one more. Place cards. This is the Bluebell, and this has the decorate on it with the gold edge as well. So I always thought these are keys. People ask me, what the heck did they use these for? You know, if they, because we have them just sitting in our case in just different spots with no rhyme or reason, but the people will notice them and wonder, know what they are. First, you could write your name on them and have them right in front of you. You could knew what where you were supposed to sit, and then you could just wash them, erase them, and reuse them. So that was kind of a neat thing. And the last thing is the dealer prism sign. So, and this one is Bluebell. Now, my question, I think I heard you say, Larry, that or somebody, that these came in all 4 colors. So they also came in Ritz Blue, Aurora, and Night Blue. Is that true, or did I hear that correctly? I was not aware of that.
You don't have all of them?
No, I do not.
I don't believe I said they came in all 4. I said I think that they came in different colors of blues. I think we may have 3 different colors.
Okay. Because I did not know that they came in the 1920s blues other than Bluebell. I have a, you know, of course we have royal blue, but so that was, I'll have to look for this. Right. And that's it. Thank you. Let me stop screen sharing here, and there you go.
Well, something on your wish list, Jack. You're going to have to go looking for prisms now. So thank you for sharing that. That beautiful cut and frosted piece was just gorgeous. And what other colors do you have in that? You said you had other colors. I'm just curious.
Let's see, amber, peach blow, and mulberry.
Okay.
I think. So.
All right. Well, thank you for that. Very, very nice. And again, I was waiting to see if a prism was going to show up, and I had not seen one yet, but I knew Bluebell was out there, but I was very surprised by Larry's comment that there may be some other blues out there for us that are looking for those. So thank you again for sharing. Next we have David, and then Mr. Strebler has sent me a little chat to say they would like to return with another piece. So we'll go David, then back to the Streblers, please.
Thank you, Julie. My collection is not very diverse. I only have one of the blues this evening. I don't know how I've not acquired anything in either Aurora, Night Blue, or Ritz Blue. I'll keep an eye out for those dolphin candlesticks though. But I do have a couple of Bluebell pieces this evening. I want to start out with the first Bluebell piece. This is a geisha figurine. It's polished on the bottom. I'd like to find one with the threads on it, but this one will have to do for now. And then I have the matching figurine. My guess is these were probably sold in pairs, and collectors refer to these as the one bun, which is in this hand, and then the two bun geisha in this hand, and kind of a fun set to have. What I've noticed with these geishas, it seems like almost every one I've ever seen has an air bubble in the head. And if you look at these, you can see that the air bubble just kind of glows in there. And I don't know, it was, I guess, the way the glass was put into the mold, a little bubble of air must have been trapped where the head was, and it just kind of always sits right between their eyes, right where you would look for it. My second item is one of my favorites. I blame Jim Finley for getting me to be a collector of the turkeys. Well, that's not very impressive. Let me put the lid on. So I love the turkeys. The lighting in here almost makes this look a little bit Aurora on my screen, but this is the Bluebell turkey. I'm fascinated by these, and I'm very thankful to have the ones that I do have. They're not easily found. And this is a partial piece. It's only the lid. This is a compact. It is etched with the early wildflower on it. When I found this, it was just the lid. So I'm on the look for a matching base to this. But I think these are really cool. I know Jack showed one with a cutting on it. They really did a lot of different things with these, with silver overlays and satin finishes, etchings, and cuttings. They're pretty cool. They must have been quite popular back in the day. One of my favorite pieces in my collection is this satin piece. You can see the optic in the temple jar, and it has a really cool Rockwell thistle decoration, along with some red enamel up here in the geometric design on the lid. So it is satin finished, both inside and out. That was not always a Cambridge tradition, but this piece, both the lid and the interior satin finish, and maybe that's because they were sending this off to a decorating company. Oftentimes Cambridge did not satinize the interior of items that were satin on the outside. And I'm only bringing this in for educational purposes. This is what I think we've referred to for many years as the Bluebell Bunny Box, but I think we've learned in recent years that this is not the Bluebell Bunny Box. This is the Tahoe Blue Bunny Box. It was made in later years, and please correct me if I'm not saying that correctly. This bunny box has had the small lip of glass that is often found in the earlier versions removed, because I'm sure that got chipped quite often. So even though it is exactly the same color as the turkey and the geisha figurines, I believe this is referred to when it was made, they had changed the name from Bluebell to Tahoe Blue. And Julie, that's all I've got here this evening.
Well, thank you, David. That silver overlay piece is outstanding. I really like that you showed that it has the red enamel along with the silver overlay. And who doesn't like the bunny box? Come on now. You just want to, everybody wants a bunny box. And the last thing is, thank you for not telling the geishas they're airheads. I appreciate that, even though there's a bubble in there. But yeah, you don't often see them side by side. So it was really nice to see the comparison there of the two. So thank you for that very much. And as always, we always appreciate everyone sharing their glass. So with that, we're going to go back to Mr. Strebler. And is this from your collection or is this from your wife's collection, Mike?
You can see I'm out of this picture.
Aha, good. Lisa, let's see what you've got.
So I'm not sure if it's shown. Oh, there it is. Yes. This is the 925. I call it the plain demis, not decorated, but definitely not royal blue, which is a lot of what's in the collection, of course. And so this, I would assume, is one of the earlier blues. So if anybody wants to tell me what we should call this, that would be great.
I would say night blue.
I agree.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Very cute. I love the dummy tosses. They're just adorable. Anything small, of course, you've got room to put it in your cabinet, because I don't know about the rest of you, but I'm running out of space. So with that, I think does anyone else have anything else to share tonight?
Julie, I sent you an email, but it was this afternoon.
Oh, I might have missed you. I'm so sorry, Les.
It's okay. Is there time?
Yes, there is.
Okay, so I'm like David Ray, that I like Bluebell. And those of you who know me, I collect figurals, any kind of figure, including the nudes or some draped, some of the flower frogs, anything that portrays some type of figure. So from my very early days in the Cambridge community, I always wanted this piece, which is the Bluebell dolphin with the Mount Vernon base. So I was just, oh my gosh, this many years I got this, I was just tickled to be able to add it to my collection. And these two dolphin console bowls with the Mount Vernon base, it is funny because the diamonds are the inside on the console bowls. They're on the outside of the matching dolphin candlesticks. But there's not many of these console bowls, and there sure seems to be a lot of the candlesticks. So I don't know if the bowls are more likely to get damaged or they just sold a lot of the candles independently. But I do have a pair of the candlesticks to go with the bowl. Now, a thing about Bluebell, and the reason I like it so much is, to me anyhow, it clearly leans to the green side of the spectrum, more the ocean blue color. That's the kind of blue that I prefer. And those other three colors, I think, especially cobalt blue 2, night blue, cobalt blue 2, or Ritz blue, probably lean a little more towards the red side. I also like the bunny boxes. So this is one with a satin finish on it. And I think, David, yours, the front feet here were straightforward. And they do come two ways. For some reason, on some of them, the front feet are pushed upward, curved upward. So in the various colors, some of them are one way straight ahead and some of them are curved up. But I agree with you, Julie, that the satin finish on Bluebell is pretty attractive, probably in all of the pieces. Another figural is the dog and cat bottles, and they were made in Bluebell. This one does have the cap to go with it. Now it's a blown piece, so it's thinner and therefore not as dark as some of those other pieces that we have been looking at. And then I was surprised that other people haven't shown the draped ladies. So the large one is an extremely heavy piece, and boy, it looks dark here, doesn't it? And it is Bluebell. Like I say, it leads towards the green spectrum. I think a very attractive blue. These are hard to find, but this is a harder one to find, the smaller version. And my very first Cambridge convention, there was one of these in a booth. Actually, Cliff McNeil, some of you people that have been around, had it in his booth. And of course, I walked into that show ring. I was poor. I was shaking. I was physically shaking with that beautiful glass, my first convention. I just, this piece I fell in love with, there's no way I could afford it. And I think I'm correct in saying that there's probably 10 of the large ones for every one of the small ones. This is a really hard piece to find. So it took me working a lot more years and a lot more searching that I was able to find one of these smaller ones. So that's the pieces that I had to share, Julie.
Well, thank you so much. It's always interesting to see. And again, the satin pieces, I didn't mention it previously, but I really do like the satinized pieces. It's not for everybody, but I really think it brings the color out on some of the colors. And thank you for sharing some of those other pieces too, Les. It's always nice to see parts of your collection as it is with everyone's collection. So thank you everyone, as always, for sharing what you have at home, because not everyone brings some glassware to show and tell. If you come to convention, not everyone comes to convention. So I enjoy these programs to see what else is out there and everything else that now I should be looking for when I'm out looking for glass. So thank you. And thank you also to Larry and to Frank and to also David for the work you put into your presentation tonight, because I know it is very confusing for all of us to look at blues and really understand what they are. So thank you so much for the work that you put into your presentation tonight.
You're welcome, Julie. I just thought of one other way to tell the difference. If it's a light blue and it's frosted, chances are almost 100% it's bluebell.
Okay, thank you. That's good to know. So we'll pack that little tidbit away as well. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to David. And David, can you give us some preview of what's coming up in the next couple of months?
All right. Thank you, Julie. The goal of the Zoom and Tell committee is to try to provide as much education to our members and collectors as we possibly can. So sometimes the team can lead the program, and sometimes we have to reach out to our friends to help us out a little bit. So I want to echo Julie's comments on thanking Larry, David, and Frank for putting that program together. I feel like I know the blue colors a little bit better, and at least I feel like I have a foothold where I can start to build upon my understanding of those. Next month is in honor of Thanksgiving. We're going to look at or present pieces that we're most thankful to find or have added to our collection. So you can call that your favorite piece. You can kind of be a little bit flexible with that, but there's not really going to be a lot of education from any one particular person next month. I want you to try to share something about the piece that a piece or pieces. Try to limit to not too many pieces, but we all have a piece in our collection that we were like, oh my gosh, there it is. I can stop collecting now type piece. So try to find one or two of those pieces in your collection and share a little bit of the story, the experience, what you felt when time stopped still and all that. And hopefully we can have a fun time next week or next month talking about the piece we're most thankful for or we're most excited to find. In December, in honor of the Christmas holiday, we're going to talk about decorating with Cambridge glass. So if you decorate your house, a lot of people, I can see glass in the background. It's like a permanent decoration in your house, the glassware. Or maybe you bring out certain pieces at certain times of the year for special holidays or special seasons. So be willing to share some of your fun decorating secrets with Cambridge glass. The Zoom and Tell committee got together about a month ago, and we were looking into 2023. And I just want to give you some upcoming programs that will be happening here in 2023. So to start out with, in January, we're going to have a flower frog program. Many of us have various flower frogs. Les shared a couple of his favorite flower frogs this evening. Everyone probably has a crystal seagull somewhere floating around their glass collection. So look in your collections, find a few flower frogs. And I know a group of people got together, maybe it was a year ago. Jack Thompson led a group of people to try to create a flower frog chart to help collectors out to identify which flower frogs have been found to date. So we're going to put together a little program. And again, Zoom and Tell is about sharing. And so we want you to participate as well. So that should be a fun program. And I'm sure there's some pretty cool flower frogs out there. Then in February, we're going to focus on the Charlton decorations. the Charlton Decorating Company bought a lot of Cambridge glass and applied various decorations to it. So that's always something that is interesting to learn more about. That was other companies that used Cambridge glass. In March, we're going to look at smoking items. So we're looking at different various smoking items that Cambridge produced over the years. In April will be silver overlay decorations. And then in May, we're going to look at the statuesque line, the nude stems. So that gives you kind of a preview out several months. So start thinking about what items you might want to present for those topics in the future. Julie, that's all I have this evening, and I appreciate everyone joining us this evening, and hope to see you again next month.
All right. Thank you so much, David. And again, thank you to everyone that shares their glass, and thank you for attending. It's always great to hear your suggestions of what you would like to see in the upcoming months. And between now and then, let's get out some of that ebony glass, and it's Halloween time, and thinking about forward and decorating, green, purple, black, it's all available. So have a wonderful rest of your month, and we'll see you next month for Zoom and Tell. So enjoy your evening, everyone. Thank you.